So we really wanted to spend a little bit of time. We've obviously done a little bit of engagement through phase 2 of our advanced practice review, and we've had lots of questions come up through the webinars. So we thought we might do a bit of a conversation just to answer some of those questions, if that's okay.
Yep.
So I wondered, Colette, whether you can tell us a bit about yourself, your professional background, and how you got involved with the advanced practice review. And then if you're feeling up to it, what impact do you think regulation is going to have on the profession?
So thanks, Paula. So hi, everybody. My name's Colette Henderson. I'm currently the Associate Dean at the School of Health Sciences at the University of Dundee, and I am the NMC Adviser for Scotland for Advanced Practice. My background in advanced practice extends back to last century, and in the late 90s I first became involved, undertook a programme in England, and because we didn't have any at the time in Scotland, and have worked predominantly in primary care since the late 90s in a variety of different roles, and moved to higher education in 2013. So have worked in higher education since then, and became involved with the Advanced Practice Review when it was advertised. It was a Scottish Government nomination to undertake to be involved in this review, and have been involved with it since for the last year. The impact, we have fought for regulation for many years. There's been quite a journey to get to this stage, with having approval from NMC Council to proceed with regulation of advanced practice. So I'm delighted that we're at this stage, but there is still so much work to do, and I think it will have an impact on advanced practice, and we need to be very careful as well, because advanced practice doesn't just exist for nursing and midwifery. We have multi-professional colleagues as well involved in advanced practice too, so we need to make sure that we engage widely with our colleagues.
Thanks, Colette. And yeah, it's been great to have your expertise and experience as we progress the work over the last 12 months. And of course, we've got nursing and midwifery advisors and a social care advisor from across the 4 countries of the UK, with different backgrounds and different experiences. So some clinical, some academic, like yourself. So it really, bringing everyone together is, as I like to say, where the magic happens. So it's been really great. Mm-hmm. So thanks for that. So just to kick off a few questions. So will nurses and midwives working at an advanced level of practice be required to undertake a full MSc in advanced practice in the future?
So I suppose just to really reassure everyone, we're still at the stage of engaging. So we have looked at the evidence. We needed to do that for phase 1 of the review, and we are still engaging with colleagues across the UK to try and figure out the answer to some of these questions. So the International Council of Nurses in 2020 produced a guideline that indicated they would be in favour of an MSc for advanced practitioners, but recognised that for some countries it's aspirational. So we are still very much engaging across the 4 countries of the UK with colleagues to try and ascertain what is it that we want as a UK NMC regulator. So nothing has been decided yet, and won't be decided until we've had all this wide engagement with colleagues.
Thanks, Colette. That's really interesting, and as you know, there's a lot of anxiety from professionals who may be working in advanced practice roles, who don't necessarily have an MSc or have studied at MSc level, completed a postgraduate diploma, and are anxious about their experience and expertise and how they'll be recognised once the NMC brings in additional regulation. And I just wondered if you might be able to give some reassurance about that.
Absolutely. From a personal perspective as well. So both of us, myself and yourself, Paul, are both in the same boat with this. And we have another colleague from England who's working with us as well, who has a kind of patchwork approach to qualifications required for advanced practice. So it's something that's very close to our hearts and something that we're really keen to ensure we engage around this topic and gather all the views. But we there, because of the evolution of advanced practice and the fact that regulation is now coming into being, we have to consider all the hard work that people have done prior to this and the requirements that were the requirements at the time that have now moved on. In addition, we need to be really cognizant and engage with the 4 country frameworks and make sure that we are working with the 4 UK countries and working with the frameworks that they have in existence to make sure that whatever decision is made does align with that. We will be developing proficiencies, standards of proficiencies, and practitioners will have to make sure that they engage against these proficiency standards to demonstrate how they meet the requirements. So there is an awful lot of work that has yet to be undertaken that means that no decision has been made as yet, and we continue to be really keen to engage and understand what it is that's necessary for us to do.
Thanks, Colette. I think that is reassuring to know that, as you say, we're keen to collaborate and hear from people and get feedback to understand the impact of additional regulation and make sure that we get it right. And it's, as you say, it's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take time, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what about those who will have recently qualified with a master's in advanced practice? Will they be required to do more work to apply for recognition of their qualification, to apply for an annotation on the public register?
So we very much are listening and continue to listen to our colleagues across the country. And what we've heard from some of the feedback across the 4 UK countries is that people don't want to jump through hoops. They don't want to have just completed a qualification and then have a huge raft of additional requirements to meet the standards that are being proposed, being worked up just now. So we very much hear what people are saying and are keen that we don't introduce much more difficult hoops for people to jump through. So people will require to demonstrate their how they have met the standards. So, but that is something that we are continuing to engage with through the work that we're doing around transitioning onto the register. And we're looking at what's happened within NHS England as an example with the Centre for Advanced Practice and all the work that's been done around the digital badge there. So we're looking to see how that will that map over completely straight away, or is there anything else that will be required? What we're doing is engaging widely to make sure that we can make it as seamless and easy as possible for people to map their qualifications over.
Thanks, Colette. That's really helpful. I wonder, what about nurses and midwives who might be working in academic roles in universities? Would they be able to be recognised as working at an advanced level of practice by the NMC?
So again, very important area and obviously very close to my heart too, that we need to be considerate of the 4 pillars of advanced practice and how people will demonstrate their knowledge, skills, competencies, capabilities across these 4 pillars of practice. So we will use that as a guideline, and we'll look at what we currently do as well already for colleagues who are working in higher education who may not maintain a clinical role as well. So we're looking at what's in existence and what do we need to do to make sure that people meet the competencies, capabilities that are required. So just aware of the terminology that I'm using there. Capabilities is something that we speak an awful lot about within advanced practice, but within the NMC we speak about proficiencies and standards, and we really are required to continue to align to that language because that's in our legislation. So we won't be speaking so much about capabilities because that's not within the legislation that we work to through the order.
Thanks, Colette. Again, really helpful response. So I just wondered, there's a question that we've had around some of the education standards that are already in existence. And we know that there's the standards for nursing midwifery education and the SSSA standards, so the standards for student supervision and assessment. And those standards are applicable across all other education program standards, whether that's pre-registration or post-registration. So how is the work that the NMC is doing around advanced practice standards? What impact is that going to have on the current standards for nursing midwifery education and the SSSA?
Thanks, Paula. So it's such a good question, isn't it? Because people will be considering what's going to be similar, what's going to be different. So the standards that we have, as you've quite rightly indicated, will need to align across all programmes, and they currently do already through pre-registration to post-qualifying programmes that people will take. The standards for student supervision and assessment are there. What we need to do is we need to map to advanced practice and see where the similarities are or where the differences are. And that might require us to make some amendments to the existing standards as well. So again, a piece of work that we need to do, looking at what's in existence and looking at how it aligns with, or if there's some variances, how we can work with those to ensure that any standards are updated to incorporate advanced practice.
Yeah, that's right. And that makes it we know it's already a complex piece of work, but there's lots of things to take into consideration. And of course, we're working with our standards team who are experts in the development of these standards. So it's really great that they're involved in this piece of work
Absolutely.
as well. So we know that HEIs or universities have already, a lot of universities have already had their Masters in Advanced Practice programs approved through university processes. So this is adding a different layer where they'll need to be approved to deliver those programs by the NMC through their QA processes. So I just wondered if you could talk a little bit maybe about that and what will happen to those HEIs and those universities who don't meet the education standards at approval. Will their qualifications kind of historically become null and void, or what will happen in that situation?
So thanks, Paula. So as you've already indicated, all universities will have their quality assurance processes in existence, where we have professional statutory regulatory bodies such as the NMC, where we have approved programmes through the NMC. There are additional requirements that higher education institutes have to meet. Now, we know we have higher education institutes that will have approved programmes for undergraduate. We will have post-qualifying programmes such as prescribing as one example, where we do have PSRB, professional statutory regulatory body requirements that we have to meet, and there is an approval process that needs to be undertaken for a university to meet the required standards and to demonstrate how they're meeting those required standards. And that has its own quality assurance process as well. So programmes will have to meet the standards to be approved. We can't have programmes not meeting the standards and being approved.
Thanks, Colette. And I suppose it's also fair to say that actually, we're a long way from that point. And as with other programs, as we develop the processes, the standards are approved. our education quality assurance team will become more involved and be able to support people through that approval process.
Yeah, yeah. So lots of work to do.
There is lots of work to do, absolutely. I think that's probably all the questions that we've got for now. So, Colette, that was really great. Thanks for answering some of those questions, and I'm sure that we will get more questions. So, if people do have more questions, they can email them into our inbox, which is advancedpractice@nmc-uk.org, and we'll be doing more of these conversations or question times to be able to answer some of those questions. So thanks a lot, Colette. And
Thanks.
yeah.
Thank you.